So without any further ado, so let's get started. So this is the one which we have done the very last class before the lockdown in a regular class. We talked about the network. We talked about different types of networks, the road networks and something and la. And in fact, we even dealt in detail about the traffic characteristics, like the traffic volumes and the speed of the vehicle and the passenger car unit, let's say PCU, and so on. So in this particular class, we'll talk about the mathematical background or mathematical analogy pertaining to the transportation network. So supposing you are an urban planner and you are very interested in what do you call creating the networks or the transportation networks for urban or any infrastructure facility, then you should be knowing a very important technique called dynamic programming. So this is a mathematical approach for developing a transportation network or analyzing the networks and its significance. So this is pretty much the same. And dynamic programming is a recursive optimization approach to solve a sequential decision making problem, or in the sense like in our day-to-day life, or you take about the basic day. The every day we spend a lot of things. We do something in sequence. Say, for example, to enroll in this course, you should have registered in this course, and you should have installed the Microsoft app or something. That is all sequential. So without doing one step, you cannot do the other step. So for example, if you don't have a Microsoft Teams account, so how do you really get into this course? So as simple as that. So it's a sequential problem. Similarly, every networks, the transportation networks, has a start and an end point. So you should be keeping in a mind like where should we starting a particular thing, or how do we end up in a particular thing, or something like that. If I wanted to create a water or what do you call it, water transportation network, or the storm water channel or a canal, so everything that should be a starting point and should be a ending point, and in between you can have got a lot of tributaries. So all these things probably will be doing using the sequential decision making. All these things are sequential decision making problem, and dynamic programming is the one which is used to solve or analyze that particular type of problems. Recursive, what I mean by is a step-by-step approach. So in remember, like any mathematical programming, like for example linear programming problem, so we have a optimization function. Then we will just do a mathematics or a mathematic analysis of that objective function and find the optimum solution. So we do not talk about anything like intermediate procedure or something, but recursive optimization is very important, because we will be looking into the individual options. Say a good example I can tell you is like register this course and getting a good grades at the end. So that is a basic optimization procedure. Recursive optimization is when you register, like you look into the textbooks that are available for this course. Then you get video lectures. You look into video lectures that are available for this course. And if you have any doubts, you can ask me or any faculty who are experienced in the urban planning. So all these things are intermediate steps which we will not consider in the general optimization. In a recursive optimization, we look into each individual steps. Based on that previous steps, we'll take a decision. For example, urban planning. There isn't much books available particularly to urban planning, and that covers the 100% of our syllabus. So in that case, if you look into the books, then that will be all waste of time. So instead, you look into some other things, like you can search in Google like to find out like what exactly or where are the contents available, and consolidate them and put them in a particular file and good to go for an exam. So that is kind of an optimized procedure rather than spending a lot of time which is not there. So that kind of an intermediate step, or the taking decisions at the particular steps to proceed further, is what we call a recursive optimization. In short, it is also known as optimize as we go. So which means that it is not like starting and an end. So which is kind of a pretty classical theory, but instead this is good as we go. So we optimize as we go. And it talks about the interrelationship. So this very important feature of dynamic programming is talks about the interrelationship rather than the time dependency. So it talks about how each activities gets interrelated. So uh, before end of this lecture, I'll show you a simple example so you understand much better what you mean by interrelationship between activities or the tasks, something like that. And the next is called the dynamic programming formulation. This is the basic terminologies pertaining to the dynamic programming. So the one of the important applications of dynamic programming is all the network analysis. It talks about the different types of networks. Say, for example, in this case, we talked about the road network. There could be any networks, like for example, the air traffic. It could be anything else other than the road networks or basic networks. Like if we talked about the classical operational research problems, the traveling salesman problem. So the salesman has to find out the shortest path so that his transportation cost gets decreased and optimize the sales, something like that. And another important thing about the dynamic programming is it's a recursive. You can do it for both forward pass and a backward pass. Like if you have attended my critical path method, I mean CPM, construction project management lecture in critical path method. So we talked about the network analysis. That also a network analysis that is activity on an arrow and activity on node. Both networks are available. So we talked about different terminologies pertaining to that. But in the critical path method, we talk about the path that has got a huge duration or the longest duration. That is what we call a critical path. But in a general sense, like we talk only about the shortest path. Like we don't want everybody to get into the longest path to spend huge money out of it. So instead, we'll just look into the shortest path that gets, the shortest path that saves the money or the economy or something like that. So this is what basically the general network analysis are. And in a dynamic programming, we have got the decomposition. So these are the terminologies like that will be generally understand before we get into the actual dynamic programming and or its implications in the transportation network. So I think I've uploaded this particular lecture notes in the particular class. If you could see after this lecture in the folder called classroom materials in your Microsoft Teams. So you'll find this document. So you don't have to write anything. So you don't have to waste. Just understand, listen here, and in case you have any doubts, you can stop me at any point of time. So I'll be glad to answer, and I'll clarify your doubts. Then I'll just proceed further. And it's almost, don't worry, online class is also pretty much equivalent to your what do you call the classroom lectures. So it's not only a recorded lecture, it's just a live lecture. So you don't have to really worry about like something like that gets different in online lecture. Okay, so the first is called decomposition. So first stage is this is kind of an what do you call defining your problem. Say for example, um, as I told you, like finishing this course. So there are got multiple stage. Nobody's gonna register the course and write the FAT exam. So instead that they have got the intermediate assessment like CAT 1, CAT 2 assignments and so on, and then you can go for your FAT. And to go to your FAT exam, you should have attendance also, like percentage of attendance prescribed by the college. So that's all thing. The breaking down of the categories or the parts or the steps or something like a work breakdown structure, we call it in a construction project management. So all these things is called decomposition. You divide the problem into multiple stages. So that will be helpful because this is a recursive optimization procedure, so that we'll be looking into different steps rather than the holistic perspective. The next I told you, it's a recursive, which is nothing but an iterative process. And it will look into the each stage, what is the decision we take. Say for example, if we have, say for example, if you want to go to Vandalur Zoo from VIT, you go to the bus stop and you might get a lot of buses. Say for example, different categories of buses, the deluxe bus and the normal government bus. So those the if you're really interested in taking a deluxe bus, then you'll wait for that. So those kind of decisions are that at that point of stage. You cannot take a decision after you reach a destination on what bus you have to board. That is called the decision rule or decision making at that point of time or at that stage. That is what we call a recursive thing. So recursive equation or functional equations. Okay, and very famous mathematician, American mathematician called Richard Ernest Bellman, and he developed a theorem or he developed a theory called optimality or the principle of optimality. And this is what he has said. An optimal set of decision rules, that is a set of rules or a set of decisions that has a probability that regardless of the ith decision, which is the final decision, the remaining decision must be optimal with respect to the outcome that the results from the ith decision, which means that if you wanted to say, I want an optimal solution, then you should take a set of decisions and you have to find out the optimal decision so that the final outcome will be an optimum. This is pretty much like if you wanted to get S grade in this course, then the ith decision should be like read books, something like that. But optimum of that, so attend lectures, take notes, prepare for the exam, all those optimum decisions you should make so that the ith what do you call the decision, which means your grades or outcome of a grade will be fruitful. So without doing any of the optimal what do you call decisions, say for example you don't prepare for the exam at all, or you don't have any materials to read or understand, then you may not get an S grade. You may pass or you may not pass, but you certainly not gonna get S grade because you have not done the optimal decision. So that is what it means by the principle of optimality. So this is very famous theorem or a very famous principle, and it's also known as Bellman's principle of optimality. So the famous person is the Richard Ernest Bellman. So he was known for his invention. He only invented the dynamic programming in 1953. No matter like it's more than 60, 70 years, but it's still dynamic programming gets used in most of the applications now. Even in transportation networks, we still use the dynamic programming approach. And so next is called, so this is what the first step is called decomposition. You divide into different stages, and recursive is we'll look into each stage and take out the optimal decision based on the principle of optimality. The next is called the composition. So the results of individual stages are known as the composition. So that is what we call it an optimal decision or a composition. And the act of composition is in a sequential decision rules is called policy. So this is kind of a more mathematical terminology. So this is pretty much an what do you call the state phenomena or that particular point of time, what exactly that happens, or when we say optimum, the outcome, how does that we say that to be an optimum? So all those things are called policy. So this is also known as policy approach. The dynamic programming or the stochastic programming, all these things kind of are called a policy approach. So which means that we'll decide only based on that particular stage. Whereas you talk about the other types of network analysis and all, it's not kind of a policy based, but it's kind of an optimum based. Like we'll find the global maximum or global minimum and we'll decide based on that. But in a recursive optimization, we look into the each and every stage. So that is why dynamic program is considered to be the most significant when compared to the other optimization techniques. And this is called the policy. And this is what I wanted to emphasize. The dynamic programming can be classified into, the computational approach of the dynamic programming is of two types. One is called the backward computational procedure or called backward recursion method, and a forward computational procedure or forward recursion method, or this also called as backward recursive method or a forward recursive method. So it's absolutely your choice to use what terminology you wanted to refer to. But if you do the what do you call simulation backward or forward, the final outcome of both that will be the same. So we'll explain that with an example before the end of the lecture. But as of now, understand that the backward computational procedure and forward computational procedure exist. Okay. So are there any questions that I can answer at this point, or do you have any doubts at this point of time? Anybody can answer, or if there are no questions, so we'll just proceed further.
No, sir, no questions.
Okay, good. So this is a backward computational procedure, and we'll talk about that. Then we'll dive into the forward computational procedure, and we'll do an example. So if you talk about the abstract theory of dynamic programming, you may not appreciate it, but we'll do with a simple example. So day-to-day life example. Then you can extend that knowledge to the actual application, or you can apply that to an urban planning concepts. So it's good to go. Okay. So this is a backward computational procedure. So we have got n number of decisions, like decision 1, 2, and n. And if you remember, this is all sequential. We cannot directly jump into nth decision immediately. So you should follow a sequence. So this is what we call about the recursive or the sequential decision making stuff. So this is a schematic representation of a problem involving a sequence of n decisions. So which means decision 1, 2, and it goes on till nth decision, and that will be the outcome. So we should look into the optimum of individual states so that your final outcome or final consensus will be optimum or be more benefited or more good outcome. And this is schematic representation. This is the stage analysis. So this individual or the decisions, and this are the stage. Say for example, input stage, we are in stage 1, 2, 3, and so on till stage n. So that particular stage gets influenced by the decision, and that outcome or the optimal outcome or call return. And this is return is almost every set of solutions that you derive out of this decision, and the best optimal solution will go to the output stage, whereas the other thing gets returned or it gets what do you call disappear at this point of thing. Say for example, you have to pay exam fee. Say for example, if the exam fee is like 5,000 rupee, and you have got some 6,000 rupee, and you have got n number of decisions to make. So pay the exam fee 5,000, and remaining 1,000 you can buy some textbooks or something like that, or you can buy something that you interest in, like so the eatables or something like that. But supposing the items that you gonna purchase is more than 1,000 rupee, so that will what do you call that kind of problem is not acceptable, because you need exam fee. I mean the money for the exam fee. You cannot compromise that. So those kind of decisions that is not going to be part of an optimal decisions gets returned here. So even though you like that product, but exam fee is mandatory or it's important, so you compromise that. So which means that optimum is like 5,000 for the exam, and I mean 1,000 rupee for something else, like something, then it goes to the output stage, something like that. So this kind of decisions is basically called the returned decisions, or in or not optimal solution. So that gets returned here, whereas the optimal solution go to the output stage. So this is basically the dynamic programming, and this is a mathematical way of representing the same. So ith decision, so it goes to the stage I minus 1 and so on. So this is the backward recursive. So SI is the last recursion, I mean the last stage, and I minus 1 is the previous stage of that. And when you talk about the holistic perspective, so this just kindly pay attention, this is very important. So this is a holistic perspective of the dynamic programming. So this is a backward recursion, and we've got Sn, initial stage. So the last state we represent as the initial state in the backward pass, and in the forward recursive we'll talk about the first stage as the first stage is the first input stage for our dynamic programming problem. Then is the nth decision variable, then s minus n stage, I mean the next n minus 1 stage, then it goes on, and we get s0, which is the initial stage. So we'll get into the initial stage S0, and Rn is the, for example, that particular thing. Say if it is a network having a duration, then Rn is a duration, and it talks about the distance. Rn is a distance, and Fn is a cumulative frequency. I'll just tell you a cumulative decision. I'll just tell you when we do a problem. But as of now, understand n minus 1, it goes on and on, in one stage and 0, which is the initial stage. This is actually initial stage 1. This is the initial stage. Remember, like in a critical path method or a project construction project network diagram, we have got the initial event. So that event doesn't have this initial event, and this is a predecessor of that, which is nothing but the ultimate event. So sometimes the ultimate event can be a 0 also. So this is what basically means by the dynamic programming problem. And we talked about this observations. Instead of that, this is kind of a more of a problem oriented stuff. What we do is we'll take up a example, then we'll come back to this, and you probably understand that in much detail when we compare to the theory. Just it's good to go with the basic abstract knowledge. This is basically the backward backward recursive dynamic programming problem. If at all, if it's a forward, this will be S0, this will be S1, this will be 1, this will be 2, and it goes on and on till end. This will be Sn, and this will be Xn, this will be something like intermediate step, and this will be X1. And R1, F1, this is for the forward pass, forward, how you go in a forward way. And if you ask me whether I should do both forward recursive and backward recursive for a single problem, the answer is absolutely no. You can perform backward recursion or forward recursion, you get the answer. It is not like a critical path method, which we will do for a CPM. This is kind of a more important thing, because the one itself, like if you perform any one of the computational method, you will yield the result. Whereas in a critical path method or a construction project network, we need to know the backward pass to understand the latest time, start time, and latest finish time. So that is the requisite in a project network, but that is not a requisite in a dynamic programming or a transportation network. And we'll come back to this little later. So this is all theory pertaining to the decision making. Okay, so just kindly read this. This is the shortest route problem. The classical shortest route problem, which means that a cab driver is assigned to pick up an angry customer. So I said angry customer. The reason is that he is waiting there for a longer time after booking. This probably many of you would have faced, no? Like if you book an Ola or Uber, then if the time taken by the driver to reach your destination is higher, you just tend to call the customer care, or even if you happen to have the contact details of the driver, you just call, sir, where are you, or something like that. And if the customer doesn't respond, the cab driver doesn't respond, or if you could not contact the customer care or either the cab driver, you just tend to cancel the booking. So I've just taken a similar problem, and this is a cab driver assigned to pick up an angry customer who's waiting for a long time after online booking, and resides at a place called I. So I represented the notations in terms of A to I, and I, which is at the east of the current location A. So the driver is at location A, and the customer is at I. So this is the network diagram. All of you could be able to see. This is where the driver is, and this is where the customer is, and the driver has got a lot of options to reach the customer. So you can go to ACFI, or I'll just tell you ABEI, or ABFI, or ACFI, or ACGI, or ADGI, or ADHI. So something like that. So the driver has got a lot of options to reach the customer. Remember in Ola, if you travel in Ola, the driver generally tends to look into his GPS to take a shortest route so that the journey time gets reduced, and he could save his fuel for his vehicle, and also you appreciate the shortest route rather than the longest thing. Nobody's gonna wait in a cab to take a longest path to travel. So that's an expense for the customer and also expense for the driver as well, because he has to spend a lot of fuel for the same journey when we compare if the journey is done in the shortest path. So this is what basically the problem A to I. This numbers are kilometers. Say for example, it is 4 and 5 is 9, 9 plus 3 is 12. So if he takes A, B, F, I, he has to take 12 kilometers. Whereas in this case, A, B, E, I, it is 4 plus 4 is 8, 8 plus 3 is 11. So this particular, it looks little longer, but if you talk about in terms of kilometers, it's the less. So that is, don't get carried away by the geometry. This is just representation. It's not done as per scale, and it's all just basically the representation. So because if we talk about the 4 kilometers is and 5 kilometer, if you see the arrow, that depth is very small. So it's just a representation. Don't get carried away by the length of the arrow or geometry. If you wanted to consider that, you can use AutoCAD or any what do you call the 2D drafting softwares to make up. This is just an illustration. Okay. Okay. So the location of the taxi driver is at A. So we talked about this network diagram and the all possible routes and this associated distance in kilometers. So this is all the kilometer, the distance in kilometers are given. And the condition put forth by the customer, this is very important. So this is very, very important. So the condition that the customer says that he will cancel the booking if the taxi driver did not arrive by 10 minutes. So which means that at instantaneously when the driver is at A and customer is at I, so the customer says if he doesn't comes by 10 minutes, I'm gonna cancel the booking. And fortunately, there are no traffic disturbances. I'll come back to this. This is what we call about the traffic characteristics of, or the which we talked about in the traffic characteristics, or pretty much in urban planning characteristics. So say no traffic disturbances. So which means that, say for example, if there's a blockade, then the time taken by this route is increased. So we just say there's no traffic, so the taxi driver can reach the I in a constant speed, of 50 kilometer per hour. So he's traveling in a constant speed of 50 kilometer per hour. And the cost of travel per kilometer, I mean, the company decides that, the cab company decides that, or the cab driver decides that the cost of transportation per kilometer is 9 rupees. So what he has to do is he has to find out the shortest path, not only the shortest path that can yield a minimum transportation cost, but also he should reach the client or the customer within the what do you call the grace time, the 10 minutes time. So that is the problem. This problem you can even make use of for developing a road network, construction of a road for a newly developed satellite city or something like that. So look into the minimum length of the network. That is in this case is the shortest path, and that is also the shortest path. Then per unit of construction, say for example, per kilometer of the road construction, there should be some money associated with that. That money multiplied by the shortest path will be an optimum money, rather than you make up a longest path and you spend huge money for the same transportation network. Instead, you can find the shortest path and you can accommodate the minimum what do you call minimum money, or optimal money. And also in this case we talked about no traffic disturbances, but in a real scenario you might encounter a case where there might be a traffic disturbance. Say for example, the car passenger unit of, even though it's the shortest path, you might have got the huge traffic. So in that case, you can take the alternative based on that particular logic also. So first we'll take a look at this. How do we solve using the dynamic programming? Then we'll look into the or we'll see how to build up this particular analogy for the urban planning, or I think you can very well take this knowledge and you can make up for the urban planning or the transportation network. Okay, so you could use dynamic programming by backward or forward. We'll just use both forward and backward, and let's see if the problem yields the same results. Okay, so find out the cost. I mean, this is an optimal cost and optimal time. I think this is kind of a least cost and optimal time by the shortest route. So this is a problem. This is an activity on node diagram and preliminary check. So this is what I told you, like we talked about, we'll just calculate. I just put this as step 0 because it's not a part of a solution, but this is a basic sanity check or preliminary check. You can make use of it. Different possible routes from A to I is given, and the corresponding the total distance, the coverage distance in kilometers. And out of this ACGI yields the shortest distance of 7 kilometers. So let's see whether we get the same the shortest distance in the dynamic programming problem as well. This is what we do. The step 1 is defining the stages. So the same network diagram, I'm not changed or altered anything. I've just only given the stages. In a backward pass, first we'll consider the backward pass recursive method or backward computational procedure. So remember, this is 0. This 0 talks about the initial event, and n, in this case, there are 3 stages. So n equals to 3. So n is 3 here. So this is the final destination. And you remember that this is stage 3. Many students will make up a mistake that in a backward pass, they'll talk about stage 1 to 3. It's not true. In a backward pass, we will be looking to I, then we will try to go back to the initial event and see which are the things are optimal. This is something like this is kind of a re-engineering. So the concept called re-engineering occurred like when somebody wants to find a solution for a problem, they just come backward, assume that they have a solution and see if this matches the current requirement. So that is what called a re-engineering. This is kind of very much regarding the same. Instead of the taxi driver thinks of taking individual path and finding out the optimal, he talks about the every path and he just talked about the customer's destination and he just calculate based on his particular location. This is very similar to war aircraft. So during a war, the what do you call the Air Force just plan the target of the enemy. Then they look into their particular what do you call the location. Then they take up the decision rather than their decision and calculating how far is that something like target or something. This is pretty much the same approach. So, but little implications, a little different in the implications here. And this is what we call stage 3, stage 2, and stage 1. So this is what we basically get. Okay. So there is a easiest method of finding the optimal solution. That is what we call a tabular form. So the cumulative distance to state 1. So this is the distance traveled from here to here is equals to the distance traveled in stage 1. So this particular, say for example, in this case, I'm going to travel from I to E, I to F, I to G, and I to H. So I have to look into the different options. Here I've got 4 options. From I can go to E from I can go to F from I can go to G from I can go to H from I. And I have to look into the optimal duration or the least, not duration here, is a distance. 4 kilometers, 3 kilometers, and 2 kilometers, 6 kilometers. We can see that very well 2 kilometers is the shortest. So I just prefer the cab driver also prefers I to G rather than I to H because I to H is 6 kilometers. He has to take additional 4 kilometers if he misses the G, if he takes up the H. Okay, so that is what basically this means. So this is what the tabular form. This is the stage 1 in a backward pass. The backward pass, the destination is I, and E, F, G, H are the different nodes. So for example, I is a decision variable here, and E, F, G, and H are the options available. And I just put 4 plus 0 because 0 in the sense like it doesn't have any other succeeding activity. So I just put if you want to take I to E, it is 4 plus 0. I to F is 3 plus 0, and so on. So something like that. And out of this, and this is, we don't have any multiple choice. So which means the I is I here. So the cumulative distance here is 4 kilometers, I to E. And I to F is 3 kilometers. And I to G is 2 kilometers. And I to H is 6 kilometers. And in this all the case, the distance is I. So this is pretty much an least distance. So we'll circle this, which means that at this stage, stage 3, I'm sorry, stage 1, at this stage 1, n equals to 3, and the optimal is I to G. So I to G, as I told, I is a decision variable and G is the what you call destination, and the kilometer travel is 2 kilometers, and that's why I've just marked with the circle. So this is one iteration or one stage. We have finished stage 1. Next, we'll go to stage 2. So we have decided, we have completed stage 1. So I to G is optimum, which is 2. So which means a taxi driver should look into I to G, and he is at this point to take up a decision. This is stage 2. So 2 to 1 is stage 2. So this, we are in G. We have to look into different options that can be taken from G. Say for example, G to D and G to C and so on. And we also have got E to F, G, I mean, sorry, not E to F, E to B, F to B, F to C, and also G to C. So we have got at this stage, in stage 2, we have got E, F, G, H. So quickly, you can understand that this particular previous stage decision can be put in here, like E, F, G, H in the next stage. So which means that E, F, G, H, and E, F, G, H, the destination for that is, say for example, in the stage 1, this is starting node, this is an ending node. The starting node is I, is a decision variable, whereas this is all the destination, E, F, G, H. In the stage 2, this is the decision variable, E, F, G, H, E, F, G, H, and the destination is B, C, and D. So B, C, D, we'll be looking into different options. Say for example, in this case, E, F, G, H is the recursive thing, and B, C, D is the destination. And the duration for, I mean, not duration, the distance for B, E to B is 3. You can take a look at E to B is 3, and F to B is 5. So you can take a look at it. E to B is 3, and F to B is 5. So there's no other G. G and H has got no, G and H has got no link with the B. So which means B. And this 4, the optimal value of E from the previous case is 4. The optimal value of F in the previous case is 3. So that gets added. So E to B, the duration, I mean, the total distance is 7 kilometers, and F to B, the total distance is 8 kilometers. And we have to choose the minimum of it. So which means E to B is lesser. So we put, instead of F, we'll put E, and we have got the duration, that corresponding duration to be 7. Or in other sense, you can take a look at E to B in the diagram. So to get E to B from I, it is I to E and E to B. So which means this is 4 plus 3. That is how it is 7. To understand that, that is how it gets 7. And similarly, you can do it for activity C, which is C has linked with F and G, and find out the minimum of it. Minimum of it is F and G and C, and we'll mark here as G, and the duration is 4. And similarly, you find for all. Out of these 3 things, you find the minimum one. So out of these 3 things, the minimum is G to C, which is nothing but 4 kilometers. So which means that in a previous thing, we talked about I to G being a minimum, and here it is G to C, which is minimum. So which means the total is 2 plus 2 is 4 kilometers when compared to all other things, something like that. Okay. Then the last step. So we have come to the last step, is the stage 3, which is 1, 2, 3. So the decision variable is B, C, D, and the destination is A. So this is fairly the simple. The decision variable is B, C, D, and destination is A, since we have got only one. And this B has got an optimum value of 7. So we will put 7 here. and C has got the optimum value of 4. We'll put a 4 here, and D has got the optimal value of 6. We have put 6 here, and the duration, the distance between B and A is 4. So we add 4 to that 7, the optimum value from the previous stage. And when you take a look at it, C to A is optimum because that has got the least distance, that's 7 kilometers. So which means that we have we have very well decided the shortest path of this network. So I to G, G to C, and C to A. So 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 3 is 7. So which means that we have got the final solution of 7. Remember, like in a manual calculation, we talked about that AC ACGI, the distance is 7. So the 7 kilometers is the shortest distance, and that will be the path ACGI.
Sir, time up, sir. Actually, the second sir is about to start the class.
Okay, then you can leave. So I'll just finish it. So, okay, so the same thing you can do it for the forward recursion. So you can use the forward starting from stage 1 to stage 3. So instead of I to A, you can take it from A to I. So this is fairly the same. You can give it a try. And this is the final solution. And this is the shortest route in the network is ACGI, which is 7. And the cost of travel is just say per kilometer is 9 rupees. So 7 into 9 is 63 rupees. And very important is we look into the criteria that if the driver doesn't reach the destination by 10 minutes, his booking gets cancelled. So which means that 7 kilometer and the drive it's the shortest path. If he takes up the shortest path and the distance he travels and the speed he travels is 50 kilometer per hour, 7 divided by 50, kilometer and kilometer get cancels, and 7 divided by 50 is 0.14 hours. The hour goes to the numerator, and multiply by 60. 60 minutes is 1 hour, so that will yield up a minute, which is nothing but 8.4 minutes. So which means that he reaches before the grace time or less than the grace time, so 10 minutes. So the driver gets the booking, and the customer happily boards the particular thing. But the same thing, if you could able to look into manually, multiply, divide this by 50, you will not get anything greater than less than 10 minutes. So everything will be greater than 10 minutes, and this only will be less than 10 minutes. So this is the beauty of dynamic programming problem.